be Super Bowl 57 between the Kansas City Chiefs and your Philadelphia Eagles. Your Birds 365 guys are John McMullen and Jody McDonald, as we are getting that much closer to kickoff. JM, all right, give us a mindset. You've covered a team that's gone to a Super Bowl before, had to get away from home, do the whole media thing, be gone for a week. 4 days out, where are they at preparation-wise, mindset-wise? Where do you think the Eagles sit today, getting that much closer to Super Bowl 57?
They're probably sick of it by now, to be honest. I brought up
another thing you got to know how to cope with, right?
Yep. I brought up Alshon yesterday. I'll bring him up again. He wasn't having it with some of the goofball questions by midweek, I would say. And you just got to fight through it. Obviously, today is Wednesday. I got to think myself. So, it's a Sunday game. So today's walkthrough Wednesday. That's what essentially they'll do. And, you'll start seeing injury reports and all that kind of good stuff. And Thursday will be the big practice. So, Nick's been very cognizant of keeping everything as normal as you can. A little bit of an advantage from being the home team. Obviously, you toggle back and forth for the Super Bowl between AFC and NFC, the team designated to be the home team. I think the advantage there is they get to practice at the Cardinals facility, more of an NFL vibe, and the Chiefs have to go to Arizona State. Just a little bit of an advantage. But you try to keep everything as normal as possible, and sometimes it's difficult. But I think even that is, maybe there's a little bit of getting used to it in the first quarter, but you quickly get into it. And maybe there's a little bit coming out of the halftime because it's a much longer halftime than usual because of the halftime show and all that kind of stuff. But I think ultimately both teams settle down and it becomes, who's better on that particular day. But they're going to be tired of it by this point. There's no question because they're getting the same question. I mean, Nick Sirianni, I asked Nick Sirianni on Zoom about his first meeting with Andy Reid after winning the NFC Championship game. So that was Tuesday. I think they took Monday off. That was Tuesday after the championship game. That was the first time he's got asked that question. He's been asked that question now every single day. Every single day. It gets tiresome. And then you have the, probably the worst question of all. Taylor Sirianni became a bit famous for her hand gestures, making fun of her dad on the podium. He got the who on the Eagles wouldn't you want to date Taylor? And he's like, Taylor's 5 years old. I was like, what kind of question is that? So yeah, they're probably tired of it.
Understood. And you mentioned injury reports. They become official as of today. And yeah, you're right. It'll be a walkthrough Wednesday, so it'll be estimated rather than hard and fast. But you can just judge by who's out there in practice. And it looks like we've got two pretty good, healthy teams. Nicole Hardman, not the wide receiver, but a wide receiver and a guy who can get deep for the Chiefs, is not going to play in this game. They put him on the IR. They didn't even want to deal with the speculation of the possibility. He did play in the AFC Championship game, was limited, re-injured himself. There was no way he's going to play in the Super Bowl, so they went ahead and IR'd him. But the rest of their wide receivers did practice yesterday. They got the L'Jarius Sneed, their top cornerback, back from concussion protocol. Vontae Maddox may have been in a walking boot last week, but he's walking around fine this week. So it looks like, except for Hardman, Johnny Mac, we got two healthy teams going into this Super Bowl.
Yeah, as healthy as possible. Obviously, as you mentioned, the guys on injured reserve, everybody available should be available to play. Maybe the biggest question is punter for the Eagles because we're not going to know that. Nick's playing that up to the hilt, but they started Aaron Cepas's window. But remember, he remains on injured reserve, so you don't even have to put him on the injury report because he's still on IR. So that'll, come down Saturday, whether they activate him or not. And, that's the biggest injury news you're talking about. Devonta was, that was, I was told last week that was a precaution when he was back in the walking boot. And, you probably saw some video, fans probably saw some video of him joking around at Super Bowl opening night. He's walking around fine, so he's going to play. I'm not even concerned about that. So yeah, and it's the Super Bowl, so everybody who can be out there is going to be out there.
And let's be honest, whether it's Kern or CPAS, if you're doing the matchup thing, and we've been doing plenty, and we'll do it right up until game, their defense versus the Eagles defense. The Eagles linebackers against the Kansas City linebacker. You match up punter, that's an issue. It doesn't
which
matter.
Is kind of, well, by the way, I did that, Jody, because you have to do it. It's part of the gig,
right?
Linebackers, which is silly. And I've said to my editors from day one, their linebackers don't play the Eagles linebackers, but it is what it is. But you're right, punter. Tommy Townsend's an all-pro. So if it comes down to the punter, you're probably in trouble. Good news is, it's the punter. I wouldn't worry about it that much.
And I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game without much activity from either of the two punters. But we do have to wait to Sunday before we get there. Off the Monday, media day and little availability yesterday, one of the guys whose quote I appreciated because I thought it was both honest and important was Brandon Graham, one of the stalwarts of the Philadelphia Eagles, who is a Super Bowl champion from being a big part, forced fumble, maybe the biggest play in the game, as a matter of fact, against the Patriots. I liked his quote on matching up against the Chiefs. You can't play scared against Patrick Mahomes. And I think that really does tap into the way the Eagles have to play defense on Sunday. We all know Mahomes is good. He's very good. He's the MVP. He might be the biggest star in the National Football League. Tom Brady now officially retired. If you had to ask me, who do I think is the face of the NFL right now, I'd probably say Patrick Mahomes before I would say anybody else. We know how good he is. He's the best quarterback the Eagles have played all year long. All that being said, Eagles can't play scared against him. You don't have any fear that will be the case on Sunday, do you?
No, one thing I've learned from NFL players is they don't generally fear much, and sometimes that might be not a good thing. But yeah, I mean, they don't, and certainly teams that are as successful as the Eagles, they have a lot of confidence in themselves, and I don't tend to worry about things like that. But yeah, with Patrick Mahomes, it's more about, and we talked about it with Jason Cole yesterday. I mean, this is a generational quarterback. We're 5 years in, Jody. Remember, he didn't start his rookie season, so he's been a starter for 5 years. He's made the AFC Championship game. That's been the floor. You go back to Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, right? There was a ramp-up period. Aaron Rodgers, who I think, you've been with me long enough to know what I think of Aaron Rodgers. There was a ramp-up period. Now, again, he had the rookie year. He got to sit and watch. But then he's thrown into the deep end of the pool, and it's been just win, 80% winning percentage. In the playoffs, when it's supposed to be tougher because you're playing the toughest competition, he's 10-3. That's like 767, whatever. It's still, I mean, all this kid does is win football games, and the numbers are off the charts. Everything about him is spectacular. So you got to be wary. You have to understand what you're up against. But fearful, I think that's not the right word. I think cognizant, you got to be aware of what you're dealing with is the right word. But the arm angles, the he can make plays, and Jason brought this up as well. He can make plays that other guys can't make, that you can't even put in the game plan because they can't make those throws, they can't do those things. And there's very few. He mentioned John Elway, Aaron Rodgers. He's in that category. He's that type of quarterback that can just, you'll think a play's over. No, it's not over with him.
And one of the things that, and I know I've said it on Birds 365, I've been saying it on the air for 30 some odd years, that I think the NFL has always lacked, and I just don't understand, John, and I've never been a coach, but I think I would emphasize this more if I were a coach in the league when it comes to putting pressure on the quarterback. Not enough guys get their hands up. That you can't always get there. You and I have had our ongoing debate about how important pressures are. Well, I'm a sack guy. You're a pressure guy. You give more credit for pressures than I do. But here's one thing that guys just don't do enough in the national football. Get your hands up. Make it difficult. When you get there, get your hand up, get it in the passing lane. Sometimes you're going to get a batted ball. Sometimes you get a tip ball, goes up there, you get an interception. And there are some guys that have been good in it for their entire career in the NFL. They're few and far between. Guys just don't get their hands up. Now, I get it. You got a 300-pound guy mauling on you while you're trying to do it. It's not the easiest thing in the world. I'm talking about it as if it's just walking down the street. It's not. But this is one guy you don't even bother with that. Because if you get your hands up, he's just going to throw it around you anyway. He's going to drop down and throw it sidearm when you get your hands up. So, hey, I'm not going to get – you will not hear me on Monday go, and the Eagles didn't get their hands up in the passing lane. Don't even bother. Just get him. Get to him. Get to him. Knock him down. Push him. Do whatever you want. If you get your hands on him in any way, shape, or form, do it because he can make magical plays out of angles that nobody can even see.
Yeah, I've said, I've made the comp. To me, he's the Steph Curry of the NFL. He does things you're not supposed to do. And if you do it, it's the old, if you're a coach and you're watching on the sidelines, you say, no, 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 no. And then yes, 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 because he can do it. And if somebody else tried it, it would look like a disaster. And that's sort of the type of talent he is. And I bring up Steph because, when you're taking 35 footers, that's not a good shot typically, Jody. But for him, it's a good shot. For everybody else, it's really, really bad. And that's sort of the type of player he is. And yeah. And when he's on the field, I always said this about Green Bay and Rodgers, when he was at the top of his game, they felt they were going to win every game, and they should have felt that way. Same thing with Kansas City right now.
And we have brought you Eagle Guys the first 2 days of the week. We're going to have Eagle Guys for sure tomorrow and Friday as well. We decided to broaden the scope a little bit today. In hour number 2, we're going to have our bud Mike Tanier from footballoutsiders.com give us a little bit of a national perspective. And oh, by the way, Eagle fans who love being the underdog, I hate to tell you, national perspective, underdog is not
the
there
underdog.
This week.
Not the underdog.
They're not in Las Vegas, and they're not in the opinion of a lot of national guys. We will get the opinion of Mike Tanier. But coming up next, we always like to try and give you the opposition's point of view. So joining us from Kansas City is Farzin Vasugian, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs for arrowheadaddict.com. That's a fan-sided outlet. He's been covering the Chiefs all year. He'll give us some insight as to where Kansas City is at right now and the big matchup between the Eagles and the Chiefs. So Farzin Vasugian from arrowheadaddict.com is going to join Johnny Mac and Jody Mac next here on Birds